Okay, so basically all drugstore palettes and Sumo ready. Okay, first up we'll do 4 Milani palettes. This one is called Must Have Metallics. Shades are really beautiful, super warm, and very metallic. So up here, up top, are the swatches for that. You can see like the gold is very flaky, but in a good way. It's extremely pigmented. I love these Milani palettes. I've probably had like 4 of like this lineup, and these are the 2 that have kind of remained in my collection. This one is called Earthy Elements, and here are swatches. This is like a very like everyday palette if you like warm tones. This was the first one I picked up. So I'm actually trying to figure out if I just want to keep this one, because this one, while I think it's really pretty, I just don't reach for it because they're like so incredibly shiny metallic. Maybe by the time we're through with this video, I will have decided. I mean, I'm definitely keeping this one. Okay, so these were the first 2 palettes that were released when Milani decided to do like these larger pan palettes. This I believe is Most Loved Mattes, and this one is Bold Obsessions. I do find that the formula in these, especially the mattes, are a little drier. And I think the shimmer and metallic ones are very similar to the ones in the smaller palettes, but I just never reach for these. I think because these are drier. Oh, hi. Not do that, that's weird. Okay. This, I think, it swatches drier. I think they still perform on the eye okay, but I'm probably gonna just declutter both of these. So again, this is the Most Loved Mattes. And top row is like an example of just some swatches. I couldn't fit all of them, especially if I wanted to get close-ups. You can see the texture. They're drier. They kind of swipe down not as evenly. And then here's kind of a close-up of Bold Obsessions. And these are on the bottom row. Again, the mattes don't go down as smooth. And then again, the shimmers are a little flaky. So we are going to get rid of both of these. Okay, next we have some e.l.f. This is a Prism palette in the shade, I believe, Naked. I said that with much questioning, but yes, it is called Naked. I love this palette, but this one is so old. I'll probably repurchase this at some point, or if they come out with like a different shade selection. They're really beautiful. So here's swatches of them. They're really, really smooth. They apply really evenly. I know that was a little weird, but it's like, okay, I like smoothed out that swatch because it like went over my knuckle. So when I swatched, it wasn't very smooth. That was my fault, but they're really beautiful, really smooth. They're really great to just have if you have just something in the crease and then you just pop one of these on the lid. They're like really, really nice. This next one is the Rose Gold Sunset, and these colors are beautiful. I literally, when I saw this, was like, this is like one of my dream versions of a palette because it has like camo jungle shades mixed with like warm tones that are very like pigmented and bright. But I have found that whenever I use this palette, it looks pretty and then it fades. Even with a primer, I don't know what it is, that just fade on me. Some have better lasting power than others. But I'm gonna declutter. And here are swatches of that one. Like, it's pretty and it's okay, but it just, every time it just fades. And I'm just like, I was pretty sure I had a very vibrant eye, and then after a few hours, it's just like, ugh, and by the end of the day, it's just gone. Okay, so this is the LA Girl Gat Feverish eyeshadow palette. Okay, so I think this is beautiful. I've used this many times, and every time I get a beautiful look. They last really well, and I just think for a drugstore palette, the amount of product, the pigmentation, the wear time, I would highly recommend a base. I don't know if any of us are actually using eyeshadow without a base these days, but if you aren't, then this is something that would require it. Even if you just lay down concealer over the eyes, I mean, anything will do, but don't go on bare. But I really love this, and I'm going to keep it. So there's swatches of the top row, Love, and that's swatches of the bottom row. The mattes are very, very creamy. So when you swatch them with like your finger or even a brush, you'll see kind of like that action where it's like a little like, I don't want to use the word patchy because like it can be easily like blended out, but I love this. I think it's a great palette. Okay, we've got some Wet n Wild palettes. So this one is Comfort Zone and this one is Rosé in the Air. I don't dislike these, but I just, how to explain it? The transition shades that they've kind of added in since they had re-released these palettes, I think are great. The transition shades are great, but I think the shades in the center perform very inconsistently. So close up of Comfort Zone. I mean, we all remember the shade, so beautiful. When you look at swatches, some are great. The first two colors are the transitions and they're excellent. And then of course that like duochrome shimmer is great, but then everything else is like, it's just okay. Like they don't swatch amazingly. And obviously swatches don't tell the whole story of a palette, but mattes are difficult to build on themselves, especially ones that are like less expensive. So yes. And this is Rosé in the Air. And those are swatches there. And I'm not saying that like less expensive palettes can't be good. I'm just saying they literally, the ingredients are just not as good. So you're not gonna get as much staying power. Again, the first two shades are the transitions, so they look great, but then everything in between is like, it's just like, it's okay. So decluttering both of these. This is a Physicians Formula Quad in Smoky Plum. And at first when I saw this, like, you know, in the packaging, in the store, I was like, so pretty, really cool smoky eye. The mattes are very creamy, but also dry. I know it's a weird way to describe in shadow, but that's kind of how it is. Like you go and it feels really great, but when you go to like apply it to the skin, it's like, it feels dry. This one, very drying. Like, not that it's gonna dry your eyes out, but like Fallout City, like that kind of dry. And then this shade actually performs really well. And there are swatches. So I know swatches actually look pretty good, but again, this is another one of those that's kind of like that e.l.f. one I showed you. It looks really great, and then I feel like over the course of the day, it just kind of fades away. So decluttering this one. Okay, next up is a palette from Model's Own, and it's called Barely There. So I actually think that this palette is fantastic. The quality is great, pigmentation is great, wear time is great, everything that you want, you know, overall in an eyeshadow palette, especially like an everyday type eyeshadow palette, this covers it. My only thing is that I tend to just use, not even 10, like I literally just use the bottom row. Maybe I'll dip into that shade as like a transition, like, or a crease, but I just like don't even go up here. So here are swatches. I mean, obviously like the bottom looks more realistic for me. The top shades are just, they're just really light, and these kind of colors and finishes can tend to like wash me out, and it looks like, they look like cheap eyeshadows on me. So I'm gonna declutter this, even though I think it's really good. I think if you are lighter than me, like if you're a fair skin, then maybe like you can utilize the whole palette and it would work really well for you. Okay, next up is the Sugar Rush palette from Flower Beauty. I should just start these by opening them, right? Because the glare from the, yeah, we're gonna just start them by opening. Much better. I love this palette. It was released this year, I believe. I picked up both of the new releases, but had not previously been interested in any of their palettes. So there's mattes and glitters and some shimmers. And I would say most of them are excellent. Actually, all of them except one are excellent. And it comes with a brush, and this brush, highly usable. So these are the swatches. Every single color in this palette performs beautifully. This and this are shimmers that you literally, if you saw them in like not this kind of stark lighting, you would be, they're stunning. The reason I kind of chose like this setting to film these videos is like it really shows off texture, it really shows things really clearly. So I had to kind of sacrifice any kind of like glitter shimmer things coming out ba-bam. But just trust that all of these mattes are beautiful. The glitters are beautiful. The only thing is this pink. It would be this shade right here. For whatever reason, it just sucks. It's just one color. Like this is like multiple swatches and like swipes and patting, trying to like at least show you the color. And it's just too much. So, but the other ones perform so well that I can overlook that. Also, I would never use that shade anyway, so it's okay. So keeping. Okay, so this is the Suns Blazing from Flower Beauty. Again, brush in there, excellent. I mean, as far as lid and or crease work. And this is like, how to describe, like it's a warm tone palette, but like incredibly amped up. I don't find that you see this kind of thing at the drugstore, especially with yellow. And then these shades, they're like crazy, crazy pigmented. Okay, so here are swatches. You will see that the yellows are a little but they blend out on the lid really beautifully. Now you're not gonna get like, you can't build up like the bottom yellow to be like, you know, in those like beautiful, intense yellow eyeshadow looks, but it plays well with all the other colors. The shimmers in here are really pretty. There's not that many. It's like mostly matte. And then the mattes are like just very pigmented and they blend out smoothly. But again, love like the formula and like just the color selection of these Flower Beauty palettes. Okay, next up are all of these Collab palettes. Okay, first up is a palette called After Hours. And for me, at first I was like, I don't know if I'm even gonna like this one, but I think I was drawn in by the formula of just all of these shadows. Even when I put my finger in and something might feel gritty or dry, when I swatch it and I apply it even to my eye, it still goes on like smooth and blends out, which is excellent. I feel there's like a duochrome in almost every palette maybe. And here you have this one that doesn't look like anything, but there it is on the bottom right. It is a beautiful duochrome. It looks really great. And all of these other ones, also great. I don't use the silver, obviously, but even that top black, when I was swatching, I was like, oh, that feels so dry. But even when I swiped it, it still came out fairly even for a matte. Just like, oh, those greens, so good. And then again, that like duochrome is fantastic. Okay, so for the remaining ones, I'm not gonna swatch every single one. I'm just gonna swatch some. So this one is Get Ready With Me. This might be the most best high quality. Like this one is fantastic. I think a lot of people could enjoy this palette. A lot of people can wear these shades. The top row is just, let's see, what, 5 swatches. They're just really, really good. Apply well, stay well, blend well, just really good. This next one is called Strike a Rose. And in swatching this, I realized, I don't know, I probably became very excited about these palettes. So probably did not need to pick this one up. So I'm gonna declutter this one because after swatching, I just realized it's not really colors I reach for. Since there's like 2 pinks in there, it's just like not something, I'd probably use half the shades. So I should probably declutter this one, even though I think the quality is great. Okay, so I take it back. I'm still doing full swatches of the last 2 palettes because they're great. So this one is Sunset Dreams. And whenever I see palettes that are like not neutral, not cool, not warm, and it's just kind of like colorful slash, you know, wearable, I tend to just find like, oh, there's like 3 shades I'll use or something, especially when they're like much larger palettes. But in this one, I find that every time I use it, I love it. And I come up with really great looks. Just something in there takes you out of your comfort zone. Here are the swatches. The blue has a bit of a gold shift to it, which is great. And the purple has a bit of a pink shift. And at the bottom, you have this like duochrome, I don't know if it's gonna show, like a duochrome glitter, shimmer, like it's very smooth. And then the mattes in here are so fantastic. So again, highly recommend. Okay, this one is called Best of the Day. This is probably, in my opinion, the best kind of modern renaissance dupe. I mean, it doesn't have all the shades, but it has like the main shades that you would need to recreate any look you wanted from that palette. And here are the swatches. Super good, fantastic. I don't want to dwell too long on these palettes, but this one is also great. Okay, this is a palette from Maybelline called Blushed Avenue. There's, I want to say, maybe 10 color offerings from this lineup from Maybelline. This is my favorite one. I've tried like 4, and even though I really like this one, sometimes, okay, let me explain. Not that I have been frequently doing any kind of beauty videos. I want to start again, but there's this feeling of wanting to have more drugstore things to offer and suggest as recommendations, because you don't want it to seem like, you know, I don't know what the word is. I just want to be like well informed, because I don't want to be like, all these things are better than drugstore when I'm not trying drugstore stuff, you know what I mean? So I want to always give drugstore things a fair chance, and there are tons of things I love, but like I almost feel like I've had this in my collection just to have it. And while I would recommend it to you, I'm gonna declutter it just to not have so many palettes, I guess. Okay, this next one is called the Matte Bar from Maybelline. And once Maybelline started coming out with all those like larger palettes, like I feel like I'm making up names now, with Jelly Pop, maybe not Jelly Pop, Lemonade. I feel so stupid right now. I'm like, I can like visualize the palettes in my brain, but I'm like, what are they called? Anyway, when they started coming out with things that were like larger than quads or quints, this was one of the offerings, and I was like, seeing so many positive reviews, I'm like, is it really that good? And this is really good. I will say the pan sizes are kind of annoying. Even the Flower Beauty ones that were kind of like, you know, those were kind of small too, but I think because we can like swipe or brush into them, feels easier than something like this where you're swiping across, if that makes any sense. So here are swatches. As you can see, they are very pigmented, but they are also very powdery. Because it's an all matte formula in this palette, they are very powdery, but they do deposit a ton of pigment and they blend out beautifully. So I would recommend this to you, and I am keeping this one in the collection. This is the Maverick palette from Revlon. I will say the packaging on these is like super cute and fun. The pan sizes are painfully small. I painfully did swatches for you with my pinky, and then at some point gave up and kind of did larger swatches, but then those were kind of sucky. This color story is like nothing new. I will say the shadows are pretty good, but the pan size really, really makes it very difficult to put even like kind of, unless you're using like a pencil brush, like it's just not happening. I don't know. So for a palette that's like okay to me, and then it's also annoying to use, this one is getting decluttered. Okay, these are the Off Tropic palettes from NYX. So this one is Shifting Sand and Hasta La Vista. So this one was the first one I purchased. They're fantastic. I feel like a lot of people, I don't know, I feel the NYX palettes that I like, which is not that many, and I mean that as far as like ones that I want to buy, that have like buy appeal to me. I feel like the ones I like, no one else likes. So when I got this, I used this like for a week. I know it's surprising, but you can do really neutral looks with it, or you can really play with like the purples, and like these kind of like neon mattes are done really well. So on the top row, you can see swatches. The oranges are great. The purple is great. The green, these all are like true to pan. Like how they look in the pan is how they look when you use them. So I just love them. This second one in Hasta La Vista, I pretty much swatched the whole thing, I think, for you. They're so good. As far as swatches go for the second one, the blue swatches kind of less intense, but the quality of the shadow is still good. And then it's an all matte palette outside of this one shade here. So you can see that blue is like whatever, but all the other ones are so good. I haven't played with this one as much. I tend to stay on this side of the palette when I use it. And maybe the orange and the purple. I want to use the green one day. I just almost feel like this green might clash with my skin tone. And the way I'm talking right now, it's like she's gonna declutter it. No, I'm gonna keep it. Like I really love when I want really, really vibrant purples, oranges, reds, or like I want to go kind of neon, I will reach for these. Okay, this is the NYX Fire palette. I feel like when this was released, there was a set of 4, I think, for all the elements. People were really excited about the color combinations, but they were talking about the price. I believe the price was like 30 or something. I mean, I think I got mine for like 40% off, so I wasn't complaining. And at the same time, I also feel like whenever a drugstore brand comes out with something really like considered expensive for the drugstore, they don't take into consideration the amount of promotions that are put on them. But I mean, I get it. If you're like really excited about palette and you want to buy it like immediately when it comes out and you don't want to wait for a sale, $30 is a lot. And then after that fact, I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, these are horrible quality, I hate them, blah, blah, blah. I actually really loved it and I thought they were really good. There are some swatches. I think the mattes in this palette are quite powdery. So base is necessary, but I felt like, I mean, I think the shades were beautiful. I really liked how they appear on the skin and how they like blended. So, I mean, I'm kind of torn about this one. I can't decide if I want to keep it or not. I keep it because I've had it and kept it because I like it, but I don't reach for it. And I feel like all the shades in here, maybe outside of that red, I already have. Ugh, I don't know. Okay, so these are from Makeup Revolution, and they're like beautiful packaging. I think they're the Forever Flawless collection. I believe there's 4 total. This one is an Optimum. And I feel like this is your kind of subculture prism combination dupe. I mean, I don't think that, let me say this thing about Makeup Revolution. I feel like I've avoided the brand for a long time because I felt like they were just duping like high end. And I mean, if I were a brand and people were just taking like my color combinations and my hard work and just making like less expensive, cheaper versions, I would not be into that. So for a long time, I avoided like all of their products, but once they started releasing stuff that wasn't like a blatant duplicate, like a concealer or like foundations or like highlighters, like, I mean, at this point, like everyone has the Baked Gelée highlighter, right? So I'm understanding of that, but like when you just take complete exact color combinations, like I'm just not particularly okay with that. So these, how to explain how I feel? I think that I like got really excited because they were beautiful, and because I really love the Reloaded palettes, I thought that I would love these. And I think these are good, but again, I think it was more like excitement. So I don't know, I'm probably gonna declutter this one. So the top row is swatches. The shimmers are good. I just think the mattes are a little like meh, I don't know. But they do perform really well on the eye, but I thought this is a color combination that would be like inspiring to me, but it really doesn't do anything for me when I'm like having it on my vanity. I'm just kind of like, I kind of want to reach into a different palette. Okay, next is Decadent. And it looks like this. This is a very me kind of palette. And I will say that I do create way more looks out of this and find it really easy to use. So there's swatches. Again, the mattes are a little powdery. I don't know how to explain the textures in these palettes. Both of them, it's like the mattes are okay and like the shimmers are also okay. So the looks you get are really like easy to do and they generally come out okay. I know it's like, I think it's just like from talking about so many palettes, and then swatching so many in this video that I'm seeing like what I really care about, which is interesting. I don't know about this one. This is like a maybe. I've never done one of these where I have like a maybe pile, but I have like a larger maybe pile for this declutter. Next up are all of the Makeup Revolution Reloaded palettes. I love these. So excited to share them with you. So the ones I showed you before were $15 a pop, whereas these I think are $7, and then this one is $10. So like half the price, and I think that these are better. So let's swatch, and I can like remind myself how I really feel. Okay, no, I was definitely right. So here we have Newtrals 2, and this one is Newtrals 3. So Newtrals 2, warm toned. Some of these might look pinker on camera. They're like a darker pink than what you see. How do I get you guys to see this properly? I don't know. I have to sacrifice like intense depth for clarity because I think it's more important to see things clearly and see texture and stuff. So yeah, as I was watching these and I remember why I love these and why I have so many, these $7 ones are better than those $15 ones, hands down. So the top is swatches of Newtrals 2. Here is a close-up of Newtrals 3, and those are Newtrals 3 swatches. So, I mean, you can just tell, right? So much better than those other ones. Okay, this one is called Velvet Rose, and again, I think the formula on these are fantastic, but I'm going to declutter this one because I find that I don't reach for this one that often. Again, probably because there are slightly cooler tones in here, and the colors I do reach for in here are probably already in Newtrals 2 and Newtrals 3. But the top row are swatches from Velvet Rose, and if this is your kind of vibe, this reminds me of, oh, there's just one Anastasia palette, Sultry Glam? Yeah, something like that. Oh yes, definitely. Sultry Glam, or okay, if Sultry Glam and Soft Glam had a baby, I think that's kind of what we have going on here. This one is called Iconic Fever, and again, also really love this. I tend to not go for the shades up here. They're like lighter than what I prefer. Maybe those two I would do. And then, I don't know, I like it, but this is, again, I don't know, I feel like this is going in the maybe pile because between Neutrals 2 and 3, I really feel like the colors I want are probably similar. But this here, the second row, are swatches of Iconic Fever. Really beautiful. That orange is something I don't really have. Like the second swatch, I don't really have anything like that. But I should be able to sacrifice that orange, right? I feel like the oranges in those NYX palettes are probably, you know, would probably suffice and are like a little brighter. Okay, next up is this palette called Foil Frenzy. This is $10 retail. Obviously, BOGO 50 happens often, or they'll do like 20% off, 30% off, 40% off, Makeup Revolution, however, Ulta's fantastic that way. So when I first saw this online, I was like, oh, I don't know. Some of these colors are like more springtime, and springtime is not something I associate myself with. But I started seeing swatches and I'm like, those look really good. This could be really amazing. And it so is. When I got this and I was swatching them, every time I swatch something, I was like, oh my God, wow, oh my God. Like, I was just like, you know that weird feeling you get that's like awesome? And when you find a product, you're like, this is so good. Everyone should have this. If you are obviously not into like metallics, you don't want this, but here are swatches. I mean, look at that. They are so good. Obviously you can blend them out. It's almost difficult not to do swatches like this because right when you put your finger in, it just like, they're just foiled shadows and they're just so beautiful. Every single one is stunning. All you need, again, this is one of those palettes, all you need is like a crease shade, and then you put this on the lid and you are good to go. Really excited for this. I've used it twice, so we need to like keep on keeping on with this one. Okay, this one is called Visionary, and I'm not gonna swatch these just because my hand needs to like rest for a bit, as far as like, it's like a little raw from like putting things on and wiping it off. So I think these are the last, yes, they're the last two in the video, so we're just gonna take a break a little bit. But you guys have a pretty good idea of what these are like. So this one, quality-wise, is as good as the other ones, but I really don't like these two shades because they go a little, they almost look the same. And then these two, I'm like, these two are like, okay. So the whole outside is fantastic, but they're, again, very cool toned, and on me, they don't look the best. This was probably purchasing the excitement of like a new one coming out and on how much I love the Reloaded palettes. So I'm going to declutter this one. This is kind of a combo one that I guess these are supposed to be like face shades, but I have tend to use them as eyeshadow. So I put it in my eyeshadow section. And again, while I think these are great, I have these shades in the other palettes, so I don't need to keep this one. So this one is also getting decluttered. Okay, so this is the declutter pile. I think I did really good here. So that. Also, I decided anything that was in the maybe pile should probably also go in the no pile, right? I feel like that needs to be the mood going forward, because if I'm iffy about it, that means I'm not sure about it, which means I don't really want it, right? So this was in the maybe pile, so that'll go. This next one, this Milani, where it's just all metallics, and then this other Revolution one, right? Okay, so this is the no pile. I'm very proud of this declutter. Okay, so this is the keep pile, and this one and this one. So I think this is really good. I have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I have 14 in the keep pile. And 19 in the declutter pile. So this one was super successful. I'm so excited. I knocked the camera over. I'm excited about this one because I feel like prior to this, I mean, I don't know what order everything's going to be uploaded in, but prior to this, my declutter piles were like under 10, and I'm really happy about this. Okay, moving on.